Hi, it's Alpita, the Mystical Mama, and welcome to Witchy Wednesday. Today, I'm sharing one of my favorite, all-time favorite. I've been doing this for oh my God, probably 30 years. And it is something that it might have been inspired by somebody else, but I feel like it's a creation of my own. But if you see that somebody else has been using it beyond 30 years, let me know, and I'd love to give them credit for it. But it's called the poison pen letter. And the purpose of the poison pen letter is to get out all your anger and aggression at a person, a place, a thing. So it could be a specific person that has done things that really aggravate you, that make you angry, that you feel are unjust. And either there's no way to tell them, or you don't feel comfortable or safe to tell them, or it would make the situation worse to tell them, or whatever. Okay. And this is a safe place for you to be able to channel all that raw aggression into. Okay. It can be towards an entity like the government or whatever, right? It can be towards a concept like money or love. Okay. You can write to the spirit of money. You can write to the spirit of love. You can write to anything or anyone. There is no limit. Hell, if your laptop is bothering you and is not functioning, you can do a poison pen letter to it. Okay. So let's get started. Okay. There are two ways to go on this. Actually, there's many ways to go to it. Okay. And you can, if you're a pagan or a witch, you can go full witchy and cast a circle and call in the elements. Or if you're new to doing these like mystical, magical practices, you can do really simple, and I'll give you both. So I'll say the super witchy way and then the mundane. So the mystical and the mundane version, and you can do anything and everything in between. Now, I will tell you that you are not directing negativity towards somebody. You are channeling it into a piece of paper so that you can get it off your chest and that you can process those emotions. We are not sending this negativity to the person. Okay. I want to be really clear about that. Okay. This isn't like we're sending this energy ball out to them. Okay. I don't do that. Sometimes if somebody is really, I feel like I'm being treated unjustly, if I feel like something needs to happen, I will call karma. I will call the energy of karma, and I will ask that karma take care of it. Whether you believe in karma or not is irrelevant. But that is, I say that they should get their just due and that they should reap what they sow. Okay. And I leave it at that. Just to clarify, I am a witch, but I'm a gray witch. Most of what I do is love and light. Although I swear a lot and I get angry and stuff like that. Love and light doesn't mean that we are sunshine and rainbows all the time. It just means that when I do magical practices, I prefer to put good out into the world instead of putting negativity out there. It's not a judgment. It's a personal preference. Okay. But one of my practices, the poison pen letter, is in that gray area. You're literally telling somebody off energetically. Okay. But you're not sending negative energy to them. I need to keep, reinforcing that, because this is not dark magic. Okay. It's not even that gray. It's like if you journaled and in your diary you said how, your neighbor is an asshole. It's the same thing, but we're doing it in more of a ritualistic way and more of a different format. All right, let's get started. So, you can, if you're a pagan or witch, you can go full out, cast circle, call in the elements and all that stuff. You don't have to. It's your personal preference. If you've never done anything like this, anything pagan or witchy or mystical or magical, which if you've blown out a birthday candle, you have. But anyway, you can go the more mundane way. So I will show you both. I will share both. It's really not that different, but anyway. So I'll say mystical when I'm talking about the more ritualistic witchy way, And then I'll say mundane for those of you that want to kind of keep it more on the vanilla side, more, you know, as a shadow work practice, because that's really what it is. Okay. It's a ritualistic shadow work practice. So to start, regardless if you're going mystical or magical, you really want to find a safe space where you're not going to be interrupted. You really want to get this stuff out, and you want that stream of consciousness not to get interrupted. However, if you're sitting there and you're really angry, you can grab a freaking napkin and a marker and just start writing. Okay. You can go that simplistic. Okay. It all depends upon where you are and what you're doing. Okay. But if there are people, places, things, entities, energies that you have had a lot of resentment and anger towards for a long time, I recommend the first time you start writing toward them that you make it more of a practice. Like you actually create space and you sit down and you put on some music. The music you choose really depends upon you. Sometimes I like angry music because it helps me to feel that emotion, to get it up. If angry music makes you even angrier, then I wouldn't recommend that. I recommend something soothing. Okay, you can, you know, search for healing music. The other thing that I love is Baroque music, Baroque. It is a style of music that there's something about the way that the music is designed. I don't think it was consciously, but it might have been, that it actually activates both sides of the hemisphere. And it's really great for any kind of journaling, writing practice, actually for pretty much anything. But you can look it up on YouTube and find a video where, and listen to it, see if it resonates for you. So I highly recommend that you light a candle, burn some incense. Dragon's blood is a great incense for this. Frankincense is a great incense for this. But pretty much anything that kind of like helps you tune into your feelings, okay? Or you might want something uplifting to just kind of keep your energy from going too dark. It's up to you, okay? So here are the must-haves. You need a pen, and it does need to be black. This is a poison pen letter. It needs to be black ink, okay? So I love fountain pens, okay? This is one of my fountain pens. Now, if you're more on the mystical side, I highly recommend that you dedicate the pen, that you mark it in some way. Skull and crossbones is very typical, but you can, you know, whatever signifies this pen as this is the purpose I have for it, the intention that it's marked with, and I will only use it for that. Now, this pen does not have any markings on it. I haven't done that, but it is the only pen that I use for this practice, and I do not use it for anything else, okay? Or you can just, if you're more on the mundane side, you can just use a regular black ballpoint pen, a marker, whatever you have handy. Honestly, it's up to you, okay? But I really love fountain pens, and I'll put the link to this particular fountain pen below. And I also like the Pilot one. This actually comes in, I think it's a 5-pack. I think it's a 5-pack. But anyway, the other thing is you need paper. Now, again, you want to go onto the mystical side. Mulberry paper is one of my favorite. I will put down in the description a link to one of the products that I buy. You can use any particular color you want. This happens just a piece I had lying around. However, if you're on the more mundane side, a plain piece of lined paper or even unlined paper. I really have a hard time writing when there's no lines. Even when I use this, I'll put a piece of lined paper underneath it. Otherwise, my writing slants. It's not that it matters. It really doesn't matter. Your writing could be as sloppy or as neat. Nobody is reading this. So, paper, pen, and you're going to write, "Dear so-and-so." If you're writing to money, you can write "Dear money." If you're writing to the government, you could say "Dear government." You can write to anybody or anything. And then you are going to let it rip. And I mean, call them every name in the book, whatever is in your head. If that person or entity or representation of that thing that you are angry at, that you have resentment towards, that you have guilt or shame towards, could be your mother, it could be your father, it doesn't really matter. And honestly, I have done this in the past. And actually I'm going to be doing it soon again because it needs to be done. Make a list. Make a list of people that you feel have wronged you. Make a list of people that you have things that you want to say that you know that you can't say to them in person. And it's not a cowardly thing. It's a, this would damage our relationship, or they would not understand how I feel, or I can't say it without being nasty, or whatever. And go through, and I would not do this more than one person at a time, just because it can be very overwhelming, and we don't want to stay in that energy. We want to let that stuff go, and we want to move on. But maybe every week you pick a person that in the past you have things that you haven't said. Maybe you didn't have closure in a relationship that ended. Maybe there were things left unsaid with your parents and they've passed, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It could be the guy that cut you off on the highway. If it's still running around in your head, this is a great practice to get this stuff off your chest and get it out of your head and out of your heart and move on. All right. So again, let's say it's money, because I know a lot of people are really struggling with money right now. So you would say, dear money, and you would say, hey, dear money, you are a bleep, bleep, bleep. You're never there for me. Whatever, whatever you have to say, no holds barred. Okay. If you're not a person that swears, give yourself permission to swear. If you don't want to swear, that's okay. You don't have to swear. This is your practice. You get to design it as much as you want. And you just keep writing until you have nothing left to write. Now, it does not mean that you will get everything out, because it's like, just think of it when you're in an argument. You're like, and this, and this, and this. Go ahead. No grammar check, no spelling check. Who cares? Nobody's going to see this. Just let yourself just get it out. When you feel like you've gotten out as much as you can, okay, you're going to take a paper, your paper, and it could be many pages. I know wasn't the first time I did it, but one of the most cathartic for me was my late ex-mother-in-law, my daughter's grandmother. And it was literally 9 pieces of paper, front and back. Yeah, I had a lot I had to say to her, or wanted to say to her. And and the way that I style this, and this is a preference. Again, take what I give to you, what I share with you, and take what resonates with you. If the music part doesn't resonate with you, don't do it. The incense doesn't resonate, don't do it. Do what feels good. The most important thing is for you to put pen to paper, and get your thoughts and your feelings out. To put them in a safe place where you feel like you're being heard. Because here's the thing, energetically, they're getting the message. Believe it or not, energetically, think of it like sometimes you're thinking about somebody and then they call you. We are all connected. I know even in this day and age with all the research that's out there, it's kind of hard to sometimes still believe, but I know that when I'm thinking about somebody and they're getting the message, whether it's good or bad. In this case, we want to get it all out, and we just want to, I cannot tell you how transforming this is for you to feel heard, that somewhere, somehow, this message is being heard. Your thoughts and your feelings are being heard, and how much it changes. So back to the late ex-mother-in-law. I kid you not, 2 weeks later, she was a different person. And I was telling my husband at the time, my daughter's father, about it. I was like, your mom's like, and he's like, yeah, I know. It's like, it was so weird. And I was like, maybe she went on Prozac. And I was just joking, okay? Because Prozac was a big thing at that time. And sure enough, we find out that that was the shift. But a lot of the things I had written in my poison pen letter to her, like, literally did shift. She was like a totally different person. So did I create that? Who knows? I'm sure on some energetic level, my energy, my voicing, my issues and my concerns and my thoughts and my feelings out into the ethers made some sort of difference. Did it make her go on Prozac? Probably not. But it might have been the push. Who knows? It might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. We don't know. It doesn't matter. Things changed and shifted. Okay. So in that letter, I would describe a situation that had occurred that made me angry, or something she did on a regular basis. And I would say, hey, you do this, and this is how it makes me feel, and I don't like it, and I wish you wouldn't do it, and I wish you would do this thing instead. Okay, you can do that. You can either voice your thoughts and feelings that you're this kind of person, and I don't like you, and I don't like when you do this, and you make me angry, and you make me feel this way, and blah, 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 blah. And then you can offer a solution, something that would make you feel better or whatever, what would change the situation, or you can just leave it. It's up to you. You can do both, and you can do some situations you may offer a solution, and some situations you may not. In that particular letter, I offered solutions. I don't always do that. Sometimes I'm just too angry and I need to get the stuff out. Okay. The point is to get your thoughts and feelings out in a safe space. Now, when you're done, when you feel complete, like you said all you have to say at that moment. And again, you can write as many letters as you want to this person. I highly recommend you only do one per day. Give yourself some space, give yourself some time to calm down and process. Things may shift enough that you may not have to write another one, but sometimes there's certain people that we have such a negative charge with that we need to write multiple letters, because either things don't change or we didn't get everything out in that first one. It doesn't matter. You can write 1,000,000 letters if you want. It's up to you, however you feel. So you're going to take all those pages and you're going to burn them in a safe manner that's appropriate to your circumstances. Now, if you live someplace where you cannot light things on fire, you can rip it up in little tiny pieces and put it in the trash. You definitely want to get it out of your home. So what I do is I have a little pot on my stove and I burn them in there. Okay, I turn the fan on and I burn them in there. And then when the pot gets full, which doesn't take long because I have another practice that's a daily practice. It's something different, which I will share in another episode. When the pot gets too full, I take it and I dump it out back. Okay, it's just ashes. It's not anything bad. You know, I have a little hole that that's been dug, and I just bury, you know, I don't even bury them. I just throw them in there and they just kind of dissolve. It's just burnt paper, right? If it's really, really negative and it's really toxic, you might want to sprinkle some salt over it or some black salt. If you're familiar with black salt, you don't have to, but you definitely want to destroy the paper in some way, shape, or form, and then get it into the ground. Okay, or if you live in a city and there's no place for you to put it into some soil, then put it into the trash and take that trash out. Okay, and just get it out of your energy. This is an amazing practice. I know it sounds simple, and it's like, what does writing a letter to my dead stepfather have to do with me processing my emotions? Give it a try. I would not share something that I haven't used and I haven't had success with. Those of you that know me or know anything about an Aquarius, we are honest to a fault. So I've written many poison pen letters, and things do shift. Sometimes the person leaves your life. Sometimes things change. Sometimes your perspective changes, and it's like, oh wow, like, yeah, if I were in that situation, I probably would have done the same thing. And you have a different understanding and you create more patience and compassion for the person. It doesn't mean that we condone or excuse their behavior. Sometimes we just understand that, you know, sometimes when people are backed into a corner or they're hurt, they're going to hurt you back. Okay. It happens. I'm sure there's not a single person on the planet that hasn't done it at some point in time. The most important thing is to create awareness and compassion and to make different choices. Okay, it's like, okay, they were nasty to me. It doesn't mean I have to be nasty back. Okay, and a lot of times that doesn't really solve anything. Sometimes people need to be told off and put into their place, for lack of a better word. More accurately, we need to create boundaries and be like, okay, that is not an acceptable way to talk to me. I will not allow you to speak to me like that. I know after my mom passed away, my stepfather and I got into a huge argument, and for the longest time I didn't talk to him. And I said to him, until you can talk to me like an adult and you can speak calmly and not swear at me and call me names, I will not answer the phone. And no lie, it took 4 years before I answered the phone to him. And he would call every single day and just leave nasty, nasty messages. And at the time, I did some of this. I probably didn't go as far as I really should have, but it did help. It helped that I got to a place where I would just delete all the messages and it wouldn't bother me. And then at one point when, actually no, it wasn't 4 years, it was 6 years before I talked to him. And I saw him from a different perspective. I just saw, again, no excuses for the things that he said and did, but I just saw an angry, lonely, sad man whose life didn't turn out the way that he wanted. And he was mad at me because I wouldn't play the role that I always played, because it no longer served me and it wasn't good for my mental health and my emotional health. And he was angry. It was angry because I didn't want to play the good little girl taking care of her stepdaddy role. Again, I'm not making excuses for him. He could have handled it better. He was like 3 times older than me. He should have done different. He should have done better, at least from my perspective, of course. But, you know, old habits die hard, and, you know, not everybody's as aware, and not everybody wants to evolve and to, I don't be a better person, but not be a better person like I'm better than you, but be a better person in they want to heal their wounds. They want to, you know, respond rather than react. They don't want to be triggered all the time, right? They don't want to be trauma bound all the time, right? So not everybody is that awake or aware, and not everybody wants to do the work it takes to find peace within themselves and to heal themselves. And we can't do the work for them. We can't make them do the work. All we can do is we can set boundaries, and when they step those boundaries, we need to kind of push back and be like, nope, you know, until you honor my boundaries, I'm not going to have contact with you, or I'm not going to play this game anymore. And then we take our feelings and our thoughts to paper and pen, and we do the poison pen letter. Now, you can do anything you want. This is not, you know, this is something that I created, but take it and make it your own. Do the parts that feel good to you. Make it a practice, especially if you feel like there are people in your life that haven't listened to you, that have done nasty things to you, that have said nasty things to you, that have hurt you, that there's a lot of trauma and healing. You know, of course, if there's, you know, serious abuse and serious trauma, I would definitely be working with a mental health professional. But this is something that you can do that will help you. You know, don't unpack stuff that you're not ready for. Don't go deeper than you feel like you can. But even if you deal with some of the surface stuff, like my stepfather would always say to me, you know, who do you think you are? Like, because I had these ideas and I wanted to have nice things, and you know, I want a freaking Lamborghini. And he'd be like, who do you think you are? You think you're a Rockefeller? And it's like, why not? Why did Rockefeller deserve to have nice things and I don't deserve to have nice things? Wasn't asking for him to pay for my Lamborghini. It's not like I said, here, give me $300,000, right? So even simple little things like that are really not that simple and not really that little, those things really, you know, if you hear enough times, you start to believe that you're being selfish and you're being greedy and you're asking for too much. And, you know, yeah, you start to think, oh yeah, who do I think I am that I should ask for those things? I should have simpler needs. I should, you know, there's people starving in the world and I want a Lamborghini. Yeah, but think of all the jobs that you create when you buy a purchase like that. That $300,000, like, that feeds a lot of people. That pays a lot of people's salaries. Okay? So when you think of it that way, is it greedy and selfish? Not asking for 20, I'm asking for 1. And even if I had 20, still that's money going into people's pockets, right? Anyway, I could go on and on forever. But even a seemingly innocuous comment like that may have so much for you to unpack. But again, if serious trauma, serious abuse, don't go into those areas. Go into areas that maybe are more on the surface. I'm not saying that you can't use it for that. I have, but I also have a therapist. I've also done a lot of work with many different modalities, and I only went as far as I could and that I felt comfortable with, that wasn't going to cause a mental health crisis for me. So please be mindful of that. If you feel like if you start writing that you're not going to be able to hold yourself back and it may cause a crisis for you, then do not do this practice, okay? Not that I feel like it would ever do that, but you know yourself best. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh wow, like I really feel like if I start writing about this person, I'm just gonna lose my mind, then don't do it. Start with little things. And sometimes you can work up to it and sometimes you can't. Sometimes some of that stuff needs to be unpacked with a professional, and that's fine. The purpose of this is for you to have a way to get some of this stuff off your chest. Start with little things. Start with the person that cut you off in the grocery line or on the highway, and just start with little stuff and then build to where you feel comfortable. Okay, there's no shoulds or have to's in this practice, in this ritual, for lack of a better word. But it's about you and where you feel comfortable, and just giving you a safe space for you to vent your thoughts and feelings when people do things or say things, or things are not the way that you want them to. And sometimes it's you that changes. Actually, it's always you that changes on some level. Either you let go of it and you're like, I said my piece and it's out there and it is what it is. Or sometimes it's like I said, with some things with my stepfather, I started to see things from a different perspective and have some compassion. It doesn't, again, condone or excuse the things that he did. It's just like, okay, well, he is who he is, or he was who he was. He's since passed. So even with my late ex-mother-in-law, if I literally read her the riot act and told her everything that was on here, it would have made my life more miserable. But I needed to get some of this stuff off my chest, and it wasn't a good idea to say it to her. But by making my 9 sheets of paper, things shifted. And again, maybe my putting this energy into this piece of paper and getting these things off of my chest was a little push in the direction of her getting on meds and literally being a different person. And maybe it wasn't. But at the end of the day, I was able to get all that stuff off my chest. And now every time after that I talked to her, I didn't have all this hostility. I didn't have it was like, okay, well, I put it out there. I got it off my chest. I feel better. And she is who she is. She's going to do what she's going to do. And things did change. And I've seen that many times. When my daughter's father and I were getting divorced, I did this a lot. And I don't want you to have, I want you to go into it with a curiosity and a little healthy skepticism, but just be open to the person, you and that person or that entity, energy, whatever it is you're talking to, changing. Things will change because you are energetically putting this out there and saying, hey, this is not right. This is how you treated me. This is how I feel. And things need to be different. Okay. And trust me, every time I've done this, things have changed in one way or another. Things have gotten better. And sometimes I've had to, do it multiple times around the same thing because things will change and go back, but that's okay. You can write as many letters to the same person or same thing as you want, and you can write to as many people as you want. This is, there's no limits to this. But just be mindful that, we're not sending energy back to them. We're not sending negativity to them. We are just expressing our thoughts and feelings and just putting it out there that on some level, they're getting the message, and maybe they'll be more compassionate towards us. Maybe they will make amends. Maybe they'll cut off contact because they can't. You never know what could happen. All right. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you tomorrow.